Hi, I'm Robin Leach with those champagne wishes, and you're listening to Kitchen Chat with Margaret McSweeney. Good evening.
Hello, everyone. I'm Margaret McSweeney, host of Kitchen Chat, and we are taking Kitchen Chat on the road here today in LA at Spago Beverly Hills, and we are going to learn all about wine and fine dining with Philip Dunn, who is the wine director here at Spago Beverly Hills and the sommelier. And welcome to Kitchen Chat.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for interviewing. This is fun.
This is so exciting. I want everyone, including myself, to overcome any kind of intimidation of going to a very fine restaurant and ordering wine. So, Philip, I'm so glad that you're going to walk us through the process of what looks like an incredible wine novel.
You know, it is. And a lot of times when people see this, it goes, oh, this is so intimidating. And in some ways, it can be. But I always say is a great wine list will always have a table of contents, hopefully accurate. And that helps you if you look at that table of contents and you go, okay, where do I want to look at? What do I want to be? And that helps, guide you. And then just knowing what you're in the mood for. Are you in the mood for white wine or red wine? The more information you can give to either the sommelier or to the server, the better. And that goes to budget and everything else, where your budget's at. I think that's the best way to navigate a large list is to have a general idea. And a good sommelier should ask questions too, like what are you looking for? What do you normally drink? Things like that also helps. If they don't prompt you for those, if you can give that information, that always helps us, because sometimes when you're at a table and you're starting to talk, you want to be sure we're matchmakers. We're not here to try to sell you something you don't want. At least a good sommelier isn't. So that's probably the most important thing. So if you can give those information out, the more information, the more you communicate, the better with the sommelier. So
this is great advice. A matchmaker, because you're pairing food and the wine, and with this huge novel, as it looks like, you do look at the table of contents. And so we're going to walk through this and highlight some recommendations, if you could. But first of all, I have to do a quick congratulations and shout out. Philip Dunn has been nominated for a James Beard Award for 2015 for the wine program here at Spago Beverly Hills. So congratulations, Philip.
Thank you so much. I'm really, really excited. I was a little shocked. But it's something that I really was working towards. And when I interviewed, the one thing I said I wanted to do was bring a James Beard Award to this restaurant. And I thought we had an opportunity to. When I came in, I interviewed and I staged and I met with the chefs and Barbara and Tracy. That's what I wanted to do. And so we're very fortunate that in a year and a half, it's come to fruition. I've only been here 1.5 years, and we've been very fortunate. But I think, I have to thank my wine team that I put together sort of late last year. We really sort of gave this idea of humility and service and to the guest, and that's what we were trying to be, sort of selfless and out there and every day and whatever, trying not to say no to anyone. And I think it showed, and I think that's one reason why we got noticed. And obviously I inherited an amazing wine list, and there was a lot of wine here when I got here, but what I saw where I could make a difference was in the service side of things. And coming from a very service-driven restaurant and wine program at Canlis, that really gave me a lot of the tools, and when I got here I thought I'm going to use those. And we'll take it, so we're excited. So
very exciting. And I think those words are so key: humility, service, and I'm going to add hospitality, because you always feel welcome here. And thank you for welcoming us and giving the confidence and knowing how to do this.
The big wine list. I mean, because it is intimidating, and when you want to make people feel comfortable. And I'm actually scaling down this list probably sometime this year, where it's going to have the same amount of selections, but it's going to be more compact and easier to handle, and not feel like this big behemoth that you just got handed, and hopefully that's going to help the guest as well. sort of navigate the list. And we're here to help. That's what we're here. We're here to help, and that's all we're here to do, is to make the right selection, suggestion. That's what we want to do.
So let's go through a scenario. So welcome to Spago Beverly Hills, a fabulous restaurant here, and we're seated at the table, and so someone will come to the table.
What happens typically, what we'll do is, I don't like to approach tables unless I feel like they've been looking at a list for a long time, and I'll try to keep an eye on them. I never want to, sell something to someone that they want. Again, I'm here to make a match. I just make an offer. I typically will come, is there anything I can help you with? Or I can show you, or sort of give you a suggestion, or do you have a question about 2 different wines? Because a lot of times that's what it is. You get 2 different vintages, or hey, how was this vintage, or what's this drinking like? Hey, I've never had this producer. What can you tell me about it? And so that's what a lot of our questions are. We do food and wine pairings here, not as much as you may think, but we do a lot. We do a lot, but not a lot. I know, not like say at the French Laundry or somewhere like that, where they're constantly matching food and wine. But we're giving suggestions, and we're talking. So if someone says, hey, I'm looking for, gosh, I want a white Burgundy, I want something rich and full, we'll take them to that section. So, I would say, okay, you want to look at Polini Montrachet or Meursault. And hopefully if they've given me a budget, if not, I'll ask them, hey, what range do you want to stay within? Because that helps us, because I don't want to, some people don't, some people, they're here to spend thousands of dollars. Some people want to spend $100. So, and I want to make sure we get the right wine at the right price for them. So that's important. It's very important.
And I'm just curious, you always hear about, oh, this was a wonderful vintage year. Are there certain years that really stand out?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you in Burgundy, people talk about great vintages: 96, 99, 2002, 2005, 2009, 2010. In Bordeaux, it's, everyone thinks of the great vintages of Bordeaux. If you go back to the 80s, 82 is a great vintage. 88, 89, 90, the trifecta vintage, I call it. There's always great vintages in every region, and it's just a lot of it is just experience and learning them and tasting them. And sometimes there's what we call sleeper vintages, where we'll have a vintage that maybe not be considered great, but obviously drinking above its station or above its sort of style. So.
And just a question, what is it that makes it a great vintage? Is it the culmination of the terroir and the weather?
It's honestly, it's the climate and the weather, really. It's the weather of that vintage. What happened? Was it sunny? Did they have rain at harvest, or did not they have rain at harvest? Was it a dry harvest? Did they have spring frost? Some spring frost doesn't necessarily mean a bad vintage, but that can be more of a quantity issue than a quality issue. A lot of it just depends on the weather of that year. And if you look, there are some marginal areas in the world that grow grapes. Here in California, we're pretty lucky. I mean, it's relatively consistent. Our biggest issue now is water. I mean, we need rain. It needs to rain, and rain a lot, to fill up the reservoirs, to keep the grapes. And again, to keep the grapes healthy. So that's the biggest thing right here. But mostly in the New World, we're pretty consistent. It's in the Old World in Europe that you have some very marginal areas to grow grapes, and that's when vintage is really important, especially in Burgundy, Bordeaux, Champagne, Germany in a lot of cases. And also in Portugal, in the port production, it's also very important. So, yeah, it just depends. So.
And do you have a favorite region for wines?
Gosh, I get asked that question a lot, and I don't. Yes, I do. I mean, I love to drink Nebbiolo-based wines from Barolo or Barbaresco or Gamay or Gattinara. Those are some of my favorite wines to drink. At home, gosh, I drink a lot of wines from the Rhone. They're affordable. They go with a lot. They pair with a lot. Red wines and white, actually, and I drink a little bit of Spain here and there, depending on what I'm having or what I'm in the mood for. But I'm sort of a mood drinker. I just like, oh, this sounds good tonight, I'm going to drink this, or no, I'm going to drink that. So I'm never like, oh, I only drink Burgundy, or I only drink Bordeaux, or I only drink California Cabernet or something. I'm all over the board. There are times where I'm in the mood for a big, flashy Chardonnay from Napa Valley, and I'll drink it. I don't care. It's just what I want that night. It sort of depends. But yeah, it all depends on my mood. So
can mood then influence what you order? So there's not really a hard and fast rule still then that, okay, you're having fish, you have to drink white wine.
Absolutely not. And I think the funny thing about that is it all depends on your company. You can have an $8 wine, and it can be the greatest wine you've ever had, because it depends on your situation, who you're with. There's many factors. Or you can have an $8,000 bottle of wine and be terrible, because maybe you're arguing with your spouse or whatever, or your significant other, and maybe you're having a bad experience at the restaurant. Who knows? You had a bad day, and it can be a terrible wine. It could just not come across as great. So I think it all depends on mood. Is so important with wine. I think that's what I love about wine, is because it encompasses so many disciplines, from geography to social to science. There's all kinds of factors that are involved in wine. I think that's what makes it interesting. And I think that's why you see a lot of people from different fields get into wine, because it does encompass so much.
So also, when the sommelier or server comes to the table with your selection, they ask you to sample it. Can you walk us through the process of wine coming to your table, and what do you do? Do you swirl it? Is there a purpose behind all that?
I typically, there's a big purpose. Obviously, you want to, when someone presents a wine, they should present it, mention the name of the wine, the vintage, make sure you have the correct wine. So important. I've certainly made that mistake where I've ordered the wrong wine. I've certainly brought the wrong wine to a table before. So it's so important that you actually say, this is 2010 Bois de Bourgogne, Chateauneuf de Pape. So important to say that. And then, you open the wine. I typically check the wine and see if it's flawed. And sometimes I'll check the cork as well. If I get a hint that maybe the cork doesn't look great, or if the wine smells a little off, I will check it. I try not to pour corked wine, if at all possible. It does happen at times. And then we try to pour roughly a 2-ounce pour to the guest. The guest, you can swirl it. A lot of times I won't swirl. I find sometimes when you swirl, if there's a minor flaw in it, it will mask it. So a lot of times I won't swirl, especially on a young wine. I just take a quick sniff and see if it's sound. And you're looking for that. Corkiness can be described as many things. But originally, you're just looking, is the wine corked, or is the wine oxidized, or oxidized beyond what it should be? You do have older wines that can have a little oxidation, which can be actually a benefit. So that's sort of what I look for. And then, the guests should taste the wine. If they like it, then you pour. And I typically pour around, or I offer to decant, depending on what the wine is. And we go from there. So it's pretty easy. Yeah, hopefully they like it. And they order another bottle. Yeah. So.
Well, this has just been fascinating. I have learned so much, Philip, and we are cheering for you with the James Beard nominee.
We're very excited to be there, so really excited. I'm looking forward to going to Chicago. It's been a while since I've been there, and I'm looking forward to checking out some chefs there that I've never had an opportunity to, and go to the bars and check out they have a great bar scene there. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm very excited and proud to represent Spago.
And we are just so excited and proud in Chicago to be hosting the James Beard Awards, and it's just so special. It's going to truly be the culinary capital of the world on May 4th, and I will be at the awards, so I will definitely keep you in the loop. But meanwhile, I hope you are walking away with the confidence, and thank you, Philip, for instilling me with the confidence of going into a restaurant and not being intimidated by the wine menu and the wine list, and having that comfort and confidence and knowing what to do. So thank you so much, Philip.
Well, it was my pleasure. And like I said, if there's any questions, please ask. Always ask and communicate. And like I said, we're here to help. So you can always send us an email if you have a wine question. I have a huge wine team. I think 4 or 5 members on my wine team now. So we're here to answer any questions that anyone might have. They can just call us up and ask us.
Thank you so much, and I will put a link to the video for Spago Beverly Hills, and come see Philip if you're in the area. And always remember, dear friends, to take a moment and savor the day.